Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Amber Cobb, Director of Partnership at Riot. Welcome to today's event, talking about the future of business in Wilson. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Today's event will be recorded. We ask that everybody keep themselves on mute unless you're speaking. And just for reference, the best way to view the first part of today's event is going to be in speaker view. So up at the top of your screen, you can make that change and you'll be able to see who's actively speaking at the time. And now I will turn it over to Tom Snyder, Riot's Executive Director. Tom?
All right, thank you, Amber. I'm excited to be here today. Welcome, everyone. I see more people coming into the room as we're going, which is great to see. This event is kind of a long time coming. We've been in discussion for some time with the leadership in Wilson around how to really activate and engage the business and entrepreneurial community. Wilson has done a great job in laying a foundation that we're going to talk about here in a moment. But then, this thing called COVID came along and it kind of changed things and has created significant change in really everything about our lives right now. And that added kind of an extra layer of discussion, I think, around where is the economy going? What are challenges for businesses? What are things that we need to be thinking about in the future? By way of introduction, I lead Riot, which is a nonprofit organization based here in North Carolina. We've done quite a bit of work with Wilson, City of Wilson over the years, and most recently have started running a startup accelerator, which is just a fancy term for providing small business resources in the area. We've had local teams from the area come through our program, and the intention is to embed that program in the new Gig East Exchange, which is just about to open, and that's exciting. We'll have Darren Smith talk about that in a moment. But as we work with startups, one of the core tenets that we talk about is that the world is always changing. And so your business needs to continually change, to continually evolve. And it's really, really important to have close relationships with your customers, to talk to those folks that your business serves all the time and understand, what are their needs, what are their pain points, what are the things that you can provide that are of value, and then commerce follows on the back end of that. And the things that have happened, in 2020 so far have just amplified the speed at which everything is changing. So our goal today is really, you're going to hear me ramble on for a few more minutes, and then we have a couple of other speakers who are going to say a few things, but most of today's session is about all of you that are in the audience. We want to hear your thoughts as members of the community. Some of you are business owners, some are business leaders within your organization, some are maybe just interested citizens trying to understand what's happening in the town. We want to hear from you in different areas. We've got breakout rooms that are focused specifically in, kind of where's business going. We have focus in smart cities and technology and entrepreneurship and other kinds of areas. We want to hear from you kind of what's front of mind. What are opportunities maybe that you've identified? What are challenges that you're encountering? Things that will lead after this event then to better prioritization of efforts and programs and things to really support the direct needs in the community. So we want this to be very interactive. We welcome questions through the chat window. Everybody's muted right now, but you're welcome to ask some questions there. But after a couple of short talks, we're going to put everybody into small group breakout rooms where you'll be able to have more intimate discussions. We have note takers in each room. While the speaker portion of this is being recorded, as Amber mentioned, we're not going to record those breakout discussions. So you can, feel free to speak freely. We do have people taking some notes in there, but we're not trying to record and figure out, who said what or anything. But after this event, we'll then pull together all of the comments, all of the things that were stated, and send a report back to everyone that attended around, here are the trends that we saw, here are the themes that we saw, here are the opportunities that may lead to follow-on events and additional programming and so on. So before I hand off to Darren, I want to talk just briefly about the importance of infrastructure. And one of the reasons that Riot has been so excited to work with Wilson is that we have seen throughout the history of your city this very forward focused look at what are the foundational things that are needed for success. You know, years before we started running into drought and water problems in North Carolina, Wilson figured out we need to plan and build the right reservoirs to have a 100-year supply of water for growth. No business runs without water. There are interesting things that Wilson has done in the utility space and making sure that the fundamental building blocks of commerce in terms of gas and electricity and things are taken care of. Much more recently, that foundational infrastructure decision was around broadband and the Gig East fiber network, the Greenlight fiber network, and running broadband to every structure in the town. That's so important right now as we're trying to educate our kids from home, as we're trying to run business in new ways and do things. The most recent infrastructure project in my mind has been the very concrete decision by the leadership across the city in investing in entrepreneurship and investing in the ability for small businesses to grow, and doing that through a combination of programs and convening and meetups and other things, but then also a physical space in the Gig East Exchange that will be open as soon as we're ready to not do so much in the virtual space, we get back together again. But the physical and the virtual go hand in hand. I think that one of the things we're going to learn post-COVID is that a lot of the things that we're doing with technology, we're going to be able to continue to do. And there's some things that are great, but there's also going to be good reason for us to continue to come together face to face in different ways. And so this entrepreneurial infrastructure investment that the city is making creates great opportunity. We want to hear from all of you around the room of how do we take and build cool things on that infrastructure. So hear your ideas, hear your questions. What should the city be doing in terms of smart city innovation or cybersecurity, or all the buzzwords? We'll try and help demystify them if you're not sure what those things are. But how might that apply to your business? How might that apply as you go forward? So that's the goal today. Again, if you want to engage Riot directly or ask questions to us afterwards, we're easy to find. We're at riot.org. We're also launching some initiatives I think are quite interesting. We have a program that we're running this fall. Rachel Newberry is on the call. She is the lead of our accelerator program. We're also going to start running a pre-accelerator. And the first time we're going to run this program is going to be in Wilson, North Carolina. And that is for folks that maybe have an idea of a business concept, but they're not yet ready to even maybe launch that business. They just want some extra expert or advice or thoughts or opinions to help them think through, what might my small business do? How might we address the market? How might we pivot after this pandemic? Even if you've already started that business, but you're kind of early on, we'd love to hear from you. If you're in an established organization and you're just trying to figure out what the next great thing is, that's a program. It's free of charge. There's no tuition. I'm not trying to make a sales pitch here, but if you think that something like that might be interesting to you, we'd love to talk to you. Reach out to us at riot.org, or embed something in the chat or whatever the case might be. But with that, I'm excited to introduce Darren Smith. Darren is your entrepreneurial leader in the town across a number of areas. I'll let him introduce himself, but Darren, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Tom. Really appreciate it. As Tom mentioned, my name is Darren Smith. I'm manager of the Gig East Exchange. And for those out there who are not familiar with that, that is Wilson's initiative to have a co-working space in Wilson. And to Tom's point, to really drive entrepreneurship, really drive collaboration, and really build a community and an ecosystem to foster those ideas and bring people's expertise together. And it's part of the reason we call it the Exchange, because that's really what's going to be happening in the space. But first, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Part of Gig East, and again, if you're not familiar with that, is an initiative the city started about 3 years ago. They started having a conference here to really drive thought leadership and bring thought leadership from outside Wilson, within Wilson, in the eastern part of the state. to get people thinking about how do we build this kind of ecosystem. It didn't take long after that, and through partnership with Riot and their guidance and really supporting us, that it became very evident we needed a space for that to really happen in, and for people to be able to go to. If you can imagine an entrepreneur taking an idea and the stress of that, the passion of that, and being able to go somewhere and feel like, okay, I'm actually going to get support here. I'm going to get the services I need. I'm going to get access to people and things to help me. And I can really walk through these doors and know, hey, this is more than just office space. This is an actual community that's going to help me. And that's kind of how Gig East has started. The exchange itself, we're at the final end of construction. So hopefully in September, mid to late September, we'll be able to open it up. And we're excited for everyone to see it. I think it's going to be an incredible thing for downtown Wilson, as well as the eastern part of the state. But I want to thank everyone for joining us, because we see Gig East and the exchange as something that serves the community. It's definitely a lot about economic development. But it's at the end of the day, it's serving the community of Wilson. It's serving the region around us. And we all feel, the Gig East team does, that by serving, we really need to be listening to what the needs are and what people are running into and what they like to have. And so, just as Tom mentioned, I think what you're going to find in the breakout sessions is a great opportunity to do that, whether it's cybersecurity, Main Street IoT for small businesses, entrepreneurship, as well as smart cities. I think it gives all of these are going to give great platforms for people to really understand what these mean and what they mean to them and mean to their business. But thanks for engaging. I think it's going to be fun today. I think it's going to be exciting. We really appreciate the ability to hear from you as we look at the roadmap for Wilson's future. We really do. And so your participation, your thoughts, your ideas, all those are so welcome today. And really, just to touch a little bit more on the exchange, hopefully, like I said, mid to late September, we'll be able to start opening it up. Obviously, COVID has thrown a wrench into this a little bit. So, there's some things that we're going to have to wait till after COVID, but what you'll see after COVID, when we're more into phase 3 and we can have events and things that will allow more and more people in the space, and you can really get a good idea of what membership in the Gig Exchange means. Again, thank you. And I want to thank Riot for bringing this idea to us and giving us a platform to let you communicate with us. Having said that, I'm really excited that Ryan Simmons, president of the Wilson Chamber, has decided to join us as well. Ryan is such a huge fan of what we're doing with Gig East and the whole initiative. He's very passionate, obviously, about business, new business, existing businesses, and supporting them and supporting us. So I'm happy to hand it over to him.
Thank you, Darren, and thank you, Tom, and the folks over at Riot for inviting me to be a part of this. Darren's right. I am a fan of not just Gig East, but our entire business community and the partners and partnerships that we have that are allowing us to really push through some of this adversity that we've all kind of been experiencing and come out on the other side with a better Wilson. And I'm so happy to see so many friends and familiar faces on this call, many of whom are instrumental in seeing us tackle this adversity and really do some innovative things, not the least of which is the Gig East Exchange. And in fact, the Chamber is happy to be able to have a sneak peek at the space this Thursday. We're in the midst of a rescheduled Small Business Month celebration. In fact, I've just left a small business banquet celebrating our Small Business Leader of the Year here in Wilson, an entrepreneur, a small business owner, and Lee Stevenson. So we are having small business and entrepreneurship at the top of mind at the Chamber. And what I want to do this afternoon is, if I can, just kind of give an overview of what our market looks like, what it's historically been, and sort of how our market is adapting to these changing conditions. I'm going to do my best to avoid, because we're on Zoom, we're already doing one of those things that is that new normal, but I'm going to try to stop using that phrase, because it's one of those things that I'm tired of saying and you all are probably tired of hearing. So I'm going to try to avoid using that as much as possible, but maybe a changed paradigm that we all have to experience and look forward to. So when we're talking about the Wilson market, we have to start with agriculture. It has historically been and continues to be a huge segment of our economy. As much as a third of our economy is still related to the agriculture industry and related industries. And as small as our geographic footprint is, Wilson is still one of the leading counties in the state in terms of agricultural production. Obviously, we're known for our tobacco, and while we're not the world's largest tobacco market anymore, we still like to say we're the world's greatest tobacco market. A full third of food-cured tobacco still comes through Wilson at one point in its journey towards finished product. So in addition to that, of course, sweet potatoes and soybeans and other agricultural crops continue to be sort of a lifeblood of our community and our market, and lays a foundation, I think, for companies to come here and take advantage of the economic engine that is our agriculture community. Secondly, I want to talk about our manufacturing sector. Again, there's friends on the call. I see Cindy Ingram from our economic development office is on the call, so she can fact check me on a lot of these things. But we're really proud of the industrial and manufacturing sector that we have here in Wilson. It's getting better all the time because of a bunch of favorable factors that we have in our favor. Obviously, with this transportation nexus, we don't have to talk much more, even though we will, about the great infrastructure that we have. Green light being just a game changer for us in terms of technological upfitting that we're able to provide to industries. Of course, our proximity to other metropolitan and micropolitan areas makes us really attractive for industries to locate here, and we've taken advantage of that. With those two sort of big sectors kind of front and center, I want to point out a few statistics that I think are frustrating because of their conflict that they present. The first is Wilson consistently ranks in the top 10 among North Carolina counties for highest average weekly wage. Great news. We love hearing that. We also rank, because of our strong agriculture sector, a strong manufacturing sector, we also rank in the top 10 consistently in North Carolina counties with available jobs. I want you to take those two facts and put them here. We have an abundance of jobs and we have an abundance of high-paying jobs. Now try to reconcile that with the third fact, that Wilson ranks in the top 10 consistently of North Carolina counties with the highest average unemployment rate. Before COVID hit, we were, at least I was, pleasantly surprised to see us crack 90. We were ranked 89 out of 100 counties in terms of our unemployment rate. Not good, and it has historically been that way. But to point to our strong manufacturing and agriculture sector, the latest unemployment figures saw us jump into the 60s in terms of our unemployment rate. So that's telling us a little bit of a story that much of our employment base is pretty stable, it's pretty secure. Our manufacturers did not halt production like we saw in a lot of places across the state and across the country. Likewise, we are not as dependent upon a retail or service sector as other parts of the state or the country are. We did not see a huge fluctuation in terms of our unemployment rate or folks who might have lost a job. Now, that is not to say that we haven't experienced some pain here in Wilson. We certainly have. There have been businesses that have closed. There are businesses that, as we speak right now, are in the midst of closing. There's been people who have lost their jobs. But I think anyone in Wilson who has any type of tie to economic development, including Darren or Cindy or Susan Kellum, they can tell you that there's no absence of opportunity here in Wilson. Jobs exist here. They've existed prior to the pandemic. They will exist after the pandemic subsides. One of the things, though, that I think gives Wilson an advantage is just what we're talking about today in Gig East and Greenlight, is that our community leadership has seen entrepreneurship, in addition to manufacturing and agriculture, as an engine, or can be an engine for economic development, which is what really gets me excited, is that we're not putting all of our eggs in those two baskets necessarily of agriculture and manufacturing. Are they sectors that need to be nurtured, developed, strengthened? Absolutely, and we will continue to do that. But why not give ourselves another option? Why not encourage entrepreneurship? Why not take advantage of the infrastructure that we've invested in as a community? Why not take advantage of our proximity to regional thought centers like the Triangle and other surrounding communities? Why not take advantage and leverage some of these resources and assets that we have in this community, try to grow, strengthen, and enhance this opportunity that we have? I think Wilson is strongly positioned to come out of this pandemic on even better footing than we were before we went into it. And we were on pretty strong footing before we started. So I just, again, appreciate the thought leadership of Darren, of our local government, of Riot agreeing to come in and help us identify additional opportunities to really grow this thing. We got hit with some curveballs here in the past few months, but that's nothing that Wilson is not accustomed to. Tom, you talked about some of the things that we have done as a community in the past, investing in water infrastructure, investing in our public utilities, investing in public schools, investing in our community college. Those are things that we're going to continue to do. But we're also going to continue to build on this legacy of innovation by investing in things like the Gig East Exchange and Greenlight. I'm excited about what the future holds. I appreciate everybody who's on this call. I'm especially appreciative of those of you who are not in Wilson to learn more about us because there's a lot to be proud of and a lot to get excited about. And I just encourage you all, when this virus subsides, to come see us if you haven't already.
Cool. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, fantastic story and great. We're a data-focused organization. To have that data, those facts that show the resilience of the community, the resilience of the jobs there, the opportunities that are there. I will echo the same thing. If you have not been to Wilson, when it's safe and appropriate to do so, I could not encourage you more to go and check it out. There's incredible stuff going on. Really, really cool. And to those manufacturing and agriculture sectors, this data revolution that's being driven by Internet of Things and artificial intelligence and all the tech buzzwords, it's affecting those industries as well. And so we really want to help even those established industries to continue to innovate. And I think the fact that they have remained so strong, even through the challenges that we've seen in 2020, really speaks to that innovation and entrepreneurial spirit, even within those existing pillars of the business community. So with that, we said that we were going to make this an interactive session. One of the things that we're going to do, I'm going to ask Amber to put a couple of questions up on the screen while I explain to you the next step. So if you don't mind, there's a couple of just quick poll questions. We will aggregate all this data. We'll share it back out to the group together with the exit from the small groups. But in a moment, we're going to put everybody into some small group discussions. Some of you, when you registered, made a request for a group to be put into, and we've done our best to try and get you into the right session that you like. Some of you may not have done that or may have joined late, and you're going to, in a moment, find yourself in a smaller room. Don't worry about which room you're in necessarily. There's going to be great discussions in each, but there is a room facilitator that will just kind of kick things off and get a little bit of conversation started. But what we want to hear from you is just some feedback on what you've heard already today, your thoughts and your ideas and such as I described. So with that, Amber, if everyone has had enough time to answer their polls, I will ask you to work some magic on the back end. I will tell everyone, you don't need to touch anything. Like, you're going to be put in a room, and then at the end of that discussion period, you're going to be brought back into this main discussion area collectively. So don't feel like you need to, click any buttons or anything, but it may take us just a second or two to get the technology to work. Hello, everyone. Amber, do we have everybody back, or are we still waiting?
It looks like everybody's come through. You should be good, Tom.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone, for hanging on, for getting through the breakouts. We have a few minutes left in the program to do a couple of things. One is we do want to open up if there are any kind of high-level questions, things that you want to ask back to myself or to Darren or others. Please type questions into the chat, and Amber will moderate those. We'll ask them out. We can have a little bit of discussion here. While you're thinking, again, what we're going to do from here is we'll collate all the notes from the different breakout rooms. We'll get the results from the poll questions. We do have some exit poll questions that we'll pull up here momentarily, kind of to close out the program. And we'll report all that data back out to everybody that did attend this session, as well as a little bit towards what the next steps might be, what the follow-on actions and things will be. Not all of that might come out all at the same time, but I know the discussion, at least in the room that I was in, was really interesting, really healthy. So quite thankful for everybody that offered their views. I think everybody in the room at some point gave an opinion, so that was fantastic. So do we have any questions or anything rolling in, Amber?
Not, excuse me, not yet, but Nicole would love if anybody who wants to connect to put your contact information in the chat window. Maybe your LinkedIn profiles would be great. Thanks everybody for doing that. That's great. No questions yet.
Darren, any other thoughts that you want to share?
Yeah, one thought I had, because it definitely came up in our group about communication and being just aware of what's going on in Wilson and the surrounding area. And it made me realize I forgot to mention that we just updated our website. So we have a brand new website that we would love for everybody to visit, which is gigeast.com. We have a lot of things out there, obviously more information about the exchange, but also the meetups that once COVID is past us, we can start having again. But we've put a lot of videos out there. In particular, we started doing something, and this also came up in our breakout. We try to highlight entrepreneurs and freelance folks in the Wilson area that people may not know are doing some really exciting, cool things. And so we're putting those out on the website as well. But I'd encourage everybody to visit that, to sign up for our newsletter, and it's an easy way to get connected.
I got a preview the other day, and the website's fantastic. It looks great. So nice job with that.
I was going to share that in addition, obviously, to everything we've talked here today, that the Wallace Simpson Whirligig Park launched 2 years ago, obviously has had a huge impact on what we're doing. And the park nonprofit in conjunction with Wilson Downtown Development did an economic impact study, which many of you may have seen last week, but if you didn't, we're going to be posting that link later today on both the park, Wallace Simpson Whirligig Park Instagram and Facebook pages if you'd like to take a look at that.
Fantastic. Can we include that link as well in our summary back to everyone?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll reach out and make sure that we have that. Thank you. Super. Well, yeah, I don't see a lot of chat questions coming in. There's no reason to run a session longer than it needs to. I am going to ask everyone, if you don't mind, we have just a couple of kind of just really quick exit questions. Amber, if you'll throw those up on the screen.
All right, guys, it should be up.
Fantastic. And, with that, really want to thank Darren, thank Ryan, thank all of the folks behind the scenes that made this happen. It was a huge team effort. So, thanks to to the team in Wilson and to those in the right group as well for pulling all this together. If you have that burning question that, as soon as we hang up this meeting, you say, oh gosh, I wish I'd thought of that. It's easy to reach Darren or I. Send us a note and we'll be happy to follow up. And stay tuned. Before long, within probably about a week or so, we'll have out kind of the collated themes that came out of today's event and get that out to the whole community. Darren, you look like you're poised to say something.
No, I was just here thinking how smooth this went. So thanks to the Riot team as well. Amber, awesome job. And thanks for making this very smooth. And I was very excited. I hope all the breakout rooms went well. I know ours did. And great event.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for participating. This is, it's been hugely helpful and quite enjoyable. So everyone have a great day.